But why couldn't they choose a more welcoming voice? You record it right. They could have chosen Matthew McConaughey. It's like, hey, 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 recording is on. No.
Recording has begun.
Get in.
Let's give that boy a lift.
What? No! Wait! We can't stop here. This is bad country.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another crazy podcast. I think this is going to be our shortest review of this film because Peter right here, recommended it to me. And Peter, please show the beautiful.
Oh, of course. We're reviewing the great Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, starring Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro, directed by Terry Gilliam. I don't know if this is your first Gilliam film that you've seen. It's
not actually. I seen Time Bandits.
Okay.
And I love that film so much because it's fantasy. And if you know Terry Gilliam, he uses a lot of fantasy movie techniques even in his serious films, even in this one.
Mm-hmm.
The courtroom scene when Johnny's like imagining the courtroom.
Yeah.
The judge, that's how Time Bandits is like.
Is Time Bandits the Criterion? It's on Criterion, right?
Yeah.
It's the cover with the ships.
Yes.
Did you notice that in Fear and Loathing there was a portrait of the ships?
Yes, I was like, is that an Easter egg?
Yeah, I think it was because it's the three ships, and I was like, that's definitely a Criterion cover.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I recommended this film to Iwan because this is somewhat similar. You could say it's somewhat similar to House, but Iwan told me that House actually has a plot, unlike this film.
I mean, House is more. I'm not gonna disclose it because House is a totally different. That's gonna be like an hour. That's gonna be our longest podcast, probably.
Yeah, I mean, we could just link the Criterion Closet video so that you can understand what House is.
Exactly. Or we're just gonna input the video right now.
Have you ever seen House?
I haven't.
Okay, so you need to see this movie. This is one of the greatest. I will never go out of my top 5 freakiest movies. I have often described it. This movie is like doing acid without having to do acid.
So you're okay when it's over?
It's amazing. Let me just say, spoiler alert, somebody turns from a dude into a pile of bananas wearing a hat in it, and it makes logical sense. At that point in the movie, you're like,
okay.
Yeah, that's what should happen to that guy. He should turn into a pile of bananas wearing a hat.
So let's just talk, because for me, this movie, it's not the best movie in the world. It's sort of like a guilty pleasure film. You said that you might now rewatch this film in the next 10 years.
Oh, no, that was my review on Letterboxd.
Yeah, and but I think the thing that makes this movie is its moments. So I just want to talk about the moments, the laughs, the craziness that is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. So we start with the opening scene, right? Where they're driving on the road, and none other than Spider-Man, yours truly, shows up with long blonde hair.
Tobey Maguire. You gotta love Tommy Maguire, 1971 America.
Like, he looks so bad. The costume, the whatever the wig design was so horrible for this. And they're just like, they're tripping. He's like, want some ether? They're like talking about drugs, and they got drugs in the trunk, and they're high in the car, and Johnny's got a fly swatter. He's like waving at imaginary bats. And it's like, it's the little things that I think are improvised in this film, where like Benicio del Toro leans forward and Johnny still has his fly swatter, and he's just like, he just goes back to normal.
Well, the thing about this film, though, let's make it clear. There is no plot. It's just comedic incidences that are happening that are tied together with those characters.
Yeah.
When I was watching this film by myself, I didn't necessarily laugh. And it's a comedy. It's an absolute banger comedy. But personally, I didn't laugh, only at a couple of scenes, which we're going to discuss later. But I did chuckle. And the reason why I didn't laugh is because if a film doesn't have a plot, like, why are they in Vegas? Why are they getting out of Vegas? Why in the middle of the desert all of a sudden? The story is sort of like like dry. But when you're talking with someone, the little moments, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in the beginning of the film, as you were saying, Tobey Maguire is sitting in the back, and like he's just talking for like 15 minutes, and then he turns to Tobey Maguire and says, "Want some ether?" And Maguire was like, "What?" And Johnny goes like, "Never mind." And then he just rambles on again.
I mean, they couldn't stop there. It's bad country, so.
That country. The only question that I have is, how did Tobey Maguire arrive in the middle of the desert? And then he was hitchhiking in the middle of have you ever been from Los Angeles to Las Vegas?
I have.
There is no house on the highway for 400 miles.
But that's the best part of the film. It's you don't question these things. These are not things that you question. So they get to Vegas, right? They drive, they drop him off basically, and they pull up to check in to the hotel. And Johnny goes up to the counter, and he's high on acid because he took an acid trip in the car. And the interesting filmmaking aspects come in here because the lady at the counter's face starts to swirl. It turns into like an eel or a snake or something. And the people, I mean, it turns into Jurassic Park. It turns into Jurassic Park in the middle of a bar. And it looks good, though, I do have to say. Like, it looks great.
It looks very promising. And then I remember Johnny sitting at the bar is like, why are these reptiles drinking? They shouldn't be drinking. I was like, they're getting drunk.
Yeah. And then and Johnny's causing such a ruckus that Benicio comes over and he's like, "Come on, man, you scared all these people. What are you doing?"
Like, what are you doing? You giving me the reptile scrap again? They almost called the police. What's the matter with you? Hilarious.
It's so funny. And I do have to say the line when he like falls because the lady when he sees the eel coming at him and he falls and he's like, "No, we didn't do anything yet." And I'm like, that's the perfect. He actually said in an interview, I think, that he said that is the line that perfectly encapsulates his character in that film, because he's so frantic and worried about everything that they haven't done yet, because he knows that they're so crazy that they're going to do all this stuff.
I mean, another line which encapsulates our feeling as well is when Johnny is like talking to himself and he's saying, "Why am I even here?
Yeah.
Am I writing like for a journal? Am I here on a drug trip or something like that?"
Yeah.
Because Johnny, and even their roles is hilarious. I have a doctor in journalism. Mm-hmm. And then Benicio's character, he's his lawyer. It's Johnny's lawyer.
Yeah.
Hilarious. I must say though, that the most disgusting part of the film is Benicio in the black water.
It's so funny though, because like he's so gone, and it's the best part of this film is that they both switch in their terms of intoxication, because there's some parts of the film where Johnny is more high than Benicio, and Benicio's like, "You bastard, like get up, what are you doing?" And then it switches on them, and that's the bathtub scene where Johnny's sort of less sober than he is.
Yeah.
And he's playing with the boom box or whatever, and like
the radio, whatever you call it. Yeah. The tape. Yeah. But the thing, what I don't understand again in the film later on is they are still in Vegas and Johnny's in the same room, and then there's water, knee deep water, and then there's also the Debbie Reynolds part.
Oh my God.
Those I laughed so much. I loved it when they go to the casino and they say, "Hey, we're a friend of Debbie's. We came all the way from LA to see the show."
Yeah.
Like, "Okay, we're gonna let you go in. Just don't make a noise, okay?"
Right.
And they got it, and then they got kicked out. And then when they go to Johnny's room, Johnny has like a shrine dedicated to Debbie Reynolds.
I mean, the most disturbing part for me is the circus. For some reason, every time they go to the circus, I get like uneasy. I don't like them in the circus.
Penn and Teller, man.
Yeah, they made it. I think, I don't know which one he is, but one of them made an appearance, which is pretty funny actually that they got him to do it. I mean, they probably had a residency in Las Vegas, so they were like, "Why not if we're shooting?"
Well, their show it's all in Las Vegas even now.
Yeah.
Their magic show. But besides the crazy intricacies that these people get into, and then also getting to the airport at the end of the film,
Oh, great.
like through the shortcut, and then they just
Fantastic. It's
it's
fantastic.
like I never missed a plane. It's like, and then they go through the desert. Oh my gosh.
There's another line that I have written down. He says, we had a salt shaker half full of cocaine. Like, this is the kind of movie you're dealing with. A salt shaker full of cocaine. I said I love the music as well. Some of the music choices were great in the film.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is what, end of 60s, early 70s music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last scene that we have to talk about is the cop scene. Obviously, that scene threw me off completely because, I mean, Johnny's driving to Los Angeles, and he's being pulled off by a cop.
Yeah.
And he pulls off like on rest area, and then he comes in and says, "Oh, you know, I'm tired and all that," because Johnny was sober at that time. And then the police officer says, "Can you give me a kiss? I'm so lonely." I'm like, did he just say that? And then cut, and then you see Johnny on the road again. I'm like, where's this film going to?
Yeah, I mean, the film sort of turned into Mad Max Fury Road at some point, because when they were at the bike thing in the desert, and he was wearing he looked so good. I love that when he was wearing the
That
bandana.
was hilarious because
Yeah,
he was smoking a cigarette,
and he had the
was,
cutout in the bandana for the so good. It's so good, man. And like that's also really confusing. He drives into the desert with some guys because they're looking for the race, and then they come up on like military people who are like talking stuff about the war, and they're like about to shoot him with a machine gun, and he's like, no, we're just we're here for the race. And they like drive off, and you're like, what did we just like run into like at the enemy? Like, what is going on? It's absolute madness.
My gosh, I mean, this film also, when you're watching it for the first time, you're so into it in a way. It drags you in.
Yeah.
That when you pause the video, when you pause the movie and you get out in the real world, you're like, where am I? Like, you're so dizzy. It happened to me yesterday. I paused the film midway through. I said, I need a break. I can't take this no more. And then I went later on and I saw the last hour of the film.
So there's two moments. They go back. So when they see Tobey Maguire in the desert for the first time, they see him again later, and same thing happens.
Johnny sees.
Oh, Johnny sees it. Yeah, he's like, oh, fuck, sweet Jesus, it's him. And he like turns the car around, and he's like, we can't go there. And then because they do it with the girl, the same thing happens. Yeah. They see her at the end, and Benicio's in the car this time with him, and he's like, oh my God, it's her. It's her. Turn around. And I think that was when they were on their way to the airport, maybe.
Yes, that was on the way to the airport.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, besides the funny intricacies, as I was saying, the camera angles, let's talk about them.
So great. They're awesome. I mean, they really put you in the trippy mood of the film.
I think the camera angles has done it for me. The feeling of dizziness and all that, because it was just constant changing and all that. Yeah. But good. I mean, this is what this movie is about. It's teaching you a lesson about doing drugs.
Yeah.
True.
Essentially, yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, the point where he takes like the tiny little bottle from Benicio, and he's like, try this. It's like 10 times stronger than whatever. And he's like doing his Willy Wonka tongue and whatever. And he's like making these high-pitched noises, like frequencies. I'm looking like Matthew McConaughey in Wolf of Wall Street right now.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
And you said Benicio like turns into the devil or whatever, and then when he's like keep going.
Oh, so Johnny's sitting on the bed, he's like sweating. Another funny scene. He's like sweating, and he sees Benicio's eyes just turn into like a reptile's eyes, and then slowly Benicio just turns into like a big red horn dude with a red cape.
Yeah.
And Johnny's like looking at him like this, and then he snaps out of it, and we snap out of it with Johnny, and then Johnny says, "Go on, finish the story."
I mean, Johnny in this film is very like, you never know what he's gonna do, because I just remembered when he's on the phone, when he picks up the phone in the room, and Benicio's still with the girl, and they're about to like leave the hotel room. The girl starts walking up to him, and Johnny just like he's like on the phone and he turns around and he sees the girl coming towards him and he starts like he's like beating the phone like get back, like as if she's like a fly, and then he goes back to the phone. It's crazy. He uses the food cover as a shield at some point.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I remember the one when Benicio's like really, really high and he's like using the knife.
Yeah.
And like Johnny says, never trust him with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Never trust.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, this film.
Let me see. I rated this.
Right.
This is a 4 for me. I give it a 4.
This is a 3.5. I can go to a 4 with this.
Yeah. It's just because this is my favorite Johnny performance besides Jack Sparrow. Like I've seen a lot of his other stuff, and this is the one that in my mind sticks out. I'm like, he's so crazy in this film.
I actually like Johnny besides in The Pirates. I actually really like him in Polanski's film from the 90s, which is The Ninth Gate. It's sort of like an Indiana Jones sort of feeling of an adventure film.
Mm.
I like the way he plays. He's a more serious character, but this
100%. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think this is like a one-time watch, maybe for a lot of people. It's crazy because for some people, they're like, I love this film. This is one of my favorite films. And then everyone else is basically like, I saw it once. I don't need to see it again. Like it was just a trip. So yeah, it was made in 1998. And yeah, it's nuts. So
it's listen, if you guys watching this have seen House, you'll see how different these two are.
yeah.
I mean, they're completely different films. They're trippy.
Yeah, but in a different way.
In a very different way, because House is horror trippy.
Mm-hmm.
This is drug trippy.
Yeah. Good double feature.
No, wrong.
Come on, man. So that's our review for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. We have to announce the movie that we will be reviewing next week.
That's right. And
I will swing it over to Ewan for this.
Oh, you swing it over too hard. Oh my gosh. Well, we're gonna take a break from the 90s, going back to the 1940s, and we're watching one of Alfred Hitchcock's. We'll be analyzing it. The notorious film, Notorious, with Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman. So don't miss out on our next review. So from now on, this is what we're going to do. We're going to announce the film ahead of time. So if you guys who are interested in viewing what we are watching and then join our conversation,
yes,
you know what we're talking about. And I think this is a good idea for the future.
Absolutely.
For our videos. So I hope everybody is going to take care of themselves. And as always, and as Johnny says, we didn't do anything.
No, not yet. Like, subscribe. That's a wrap. We'll see you next week.
Pick
up the phone. Pick up the phone. Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Want some ether?